Power Blade isn't just another NES platformer from 1991, it's one of the most criminally underrated action games in Nintendo's entire library. While most players were busy jumping on Goombas or collecting hearts in Hyrule, Taito quietly released what many consider to be one of the finest examples of non-linear 2D action ever created on the system. But here's where the story gets interesting. Power Blade was actually inspired by the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie The Running Man, and it shows. The cyberpunk aesthetic, the dystopian future setting, the over-the-top action. This wasn't just another cute platformer. This was Taito's attempt to bring mature cinematic action to the NES, complete with one of the most incredible soundtracks ever composed for the system. So you think a game with movie tie-in potential, incredible music, and innovative non-linear gameplay would have become a household name, right? But it didn't, not even close. What happened during the early 90s when Power Blade should have been competing with Mega Man and Castlevania for action game supremacy? The gaming landscape was crowded with sequels and established franchises. Nintendo's own games dominated shelf space, and third-party developers struggled to get attention for original properties. Meanwhile, Taito was better known for arcade hits like Bubble Bobble and wasn't seen as a major console developer. It wasn't until years later that a dedicated group of retro gaming enthusiasts discovered what they had missed. Power Blade featured something revolutionary for its time: completely non-linear progression where players could tackle the 6 main sectors in any order they choose. Each sector required finding a hidden contact agent before accessing the boss, creating a gameplay loop that was part exploration, part puzzle solving, and part intense action. The game's technical achievements were extraordinary for 1991. The sprite animation was fluid and detailed, the boss battles were epic in scope, and that soundtrack, composed by Kinuyo Yamashita, who also worked on Bubble Bobble, featured some of the most memorable and energetic tracks ever programmed for the NES sound chip. Critics who played it praised its innovation, its challenge level, and its production values. But there was one major problem: accessibility. Power Blade didn't hold players' hands. The non-linear structure meant you could easily get lost. Finding the contact agents required thorough exploration of increasingly complex level designs, and unlike Mega Man, which clearly telegraphed boss weaknesses, Power Blade demanded players to develop their own strategies through trial and error. Modern players discovering Power Blade today face the same challenges that confronted gamers in 1991. The level layouts can be confusing without guidance. Some of the contact agents are hidden in areas that aren't immediately obvious. Boss strategies aren't intuitive, and the game's unique boomerang mechanics take time to master. But what if I told you that with the right guidance, you could experience every secret area, every hidden power-up, and every boss strategy that makes this game a forgotten masterpiece? What if I told you there are optimal routes throughout each sector that most players never discover? What if I told you that understanding just a few key techniques could transform the most frustrating exploration segments into the most satisfying gaming experiences you've had in years? Welcome to our complete Power Blade walkthrough series, where we'll uncover every secret this cyberpunk classic has to offer. Whether you're a retro gaming enthusiast looking to tackle one of the NES's hidden gems, or a completionist ready to master every sector and every boss encounter, this series will be your definitive guide. If you're ready to experience one of Taito's greatest achievements the way it was meant to be played, make sure to subscribe for the full series. We'll be covering every sector, every boss strategy, every power-up location, and every technique you need to be the ultimate cyber warrior. Now, let's jack into the future and save humanity from digital destruction. Sector 1, Industrial Complex. Begin the mission by ascending the left ladder and climbing to the next room. Navigate rightward across gaps while eliminating red flower enemies. Then descend via the ladder. Power Blade represents a unique achievement in NES game Gaming, a cyberpunk action-adventure that prioritized player choice, exploration, and strategic combat over linear progression. Its innovative design, memorable soundtrack, and challenging gameplay create an experience that remains engaging decades past its original release.
I'm gonna let you in on a little story here. This is a personal one. I once bought Power Blade for $20 from someone off of Facebook Marketplace. He actually delivered it to my door. If you have any cool stories like this, share them in the comments below. Let's start off with an easy one. What was Power Blade originally called when it was first shown at the 1990 Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago? Drop your answer in the comments.
Continue upward through multiple room transitions, heading left and upward until locating John Gordon, the first contact agent. After receiving the ID card, navigate through the complex ladder system by going down, right, up, and following the prescribed path to reach Sector 1's security door.
Fun fact, Power Blade was originally called Power Mission when it debuted at the 1990 Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago. Nintendo Power even hyped it up as Mega Action in the tradition of Mega Man 2. Talk about setting expectations. Here's a tricky one for you retro gaming fans. What year does Power Blade take place in? Let me know if you can nail this futuristic setting. Remember when getting a new NES game was an event? Back in 1991, you'd walk into that video store or toy aisle, and there among the sea of colorful cartridges was this intimidating box art of a muscle-bound warrior that looked suspiciously like the Terminator. That was Power Blade, and if you were brave enough to rent it, you were in for something special. Fun fact, Power Blade was released on both regular NES cartridges and Nintendo's PlayChoice 10 arcade system. You could literally play this at home or drop quarters on it at the arcade. Best of both worlds. Can you believe that in 1991, the idea of shooting in 8 directions was revolutionary? Today we take 360-degree aiming for granted, but back in the day, most NES platformers locked you into shooting just left and right, maybe up if you were lucky. Power Blade broke that mold completely. Did you know that Power Blade is actually a completely reworked version of the Japanese game Power Blazer? They didn't just translate it, they rebuilt the entire thing from the ground up with new levels and gameplay mechanics. Here's a timing detail. The game came out in Japan in April 1990, but Western players had to wait until March 1991 to get their hands on it. That's almost a full year of waiting for the localized version.
Boss Battle, Unit Droid. This aerial opponent flies in predictable patterns around the combat arena. Utilize hand grenades for maximum damage output, though standard boomerang attacks prove effective with proper positioning. The Unit Droid's simple movement patterns make this the most manageable boss encounter in the game.
Let's test your Power Blade lore. What's the name of the supercomputer that Nova has to restore?
Section 2, Waterfront District. Head right and jump upward before continuing right to the area's far edge.
Did you know that Family Computer magazine readers gave the original Power Blazer a score of 17.13 out of 30 in a 1991 poll? Makes you wonder if all those Western improvements actually paid off in making it more fun to play. Here's some wild trivia. The main character, Nova, got a major makeover for Western audiences. He went from looking like a cartoon robot to basically being an Arnold Schwarzenegger lookalike. Sometimes the games that didn't quite become classics tell us more about their era, and the ones that did. Power Blade captures the ambition, the innovation, and yes, the occasional legal mishap of early 90s gaming better than almost any other title. It's a reminder that behind every cartridge was a team of people trying to create something special, even if they had to dodge the Terminator lawyers along the way.
And ascend the ladder to the next room. Then climb the following ladder and use the floating platforms to cross the fire-filled chasm below. Enter the underwater section and proceed completely rightward to locate Robert Williams, who provides the Sector 2 ID card.
Fun fact, speaking of Schwarzenegger, the game's box art actually got the artist in legal trouble. Mike Winterbauer received a nasty letter from a certain movie star's lawyers because Nova looked too much like the Terminator. Can you guess what the Japanese version of Power Blade was called? This one's for the import game enthusiasts out there. Did you know that IGN ranked Power Blade number 82 on their top 100 NES games list in 2009? Not bad for a game that most people probably forgot about by then.
Return leftward, descend via the ladder, and navigate the wall sections before heading down and left to the security door.
What made Power Blade special wasn't just its innovations, it was the incredible attention to detail that Taito put into the localization process. This wasn't a quick translation job. They completely rebuilt the game from the ground up. Every level was redesigned, the character sprites were redrawn, the gameplay mechanics were overhauled. They added the agent finding missions, improved the control response, and even changed how the boomerang physics worked. That's the kind of care and craftsmanship that rarely happens in today's gaming industry, where localization often means changing text files and calling it a day. Those were the times when bringing a Japanese game to America meant truly adapting it for the right audience, not just assuming one size fits all. The developers understood that American kids in 1991 wanted to play as Arnold Schwarzenegger in space, not just a cute cartoon robot. They had the courage to completely reimagine their creation. Fun fact, Power Blade spawned a sequel in 1992, but here's the kicker. Power Blade 2 was only released in North America. Japan and Europe missed out entirely on the follow-up. Remember that feeling when you first grabbed Nova's boomerang and realized you could fire it diagonally? It was like discovering a cheat code that wasn't actually cheating. Those were the times when a simple mechanical innovation could completely change how a game felt to play. Let's test your knowledge of great game composers. Who created the soundtrack for Power Blade? Hint, they also worked on another famous Konami vampire hunting series, Boss Battle, the Dragon. This spinning mechanical dragon moves horizontally across the screen in dangerous patterns. Hand grenades provide the most reliable damage method, though players can jump over the dragon during its spinning attacks, maintain distance, and time attacks carefully to avoid the creature's devastating contact damage. Sector 3, Underground Network. Ascend the right ladder and alternate between left and right navigation while climbing successive ladders. Did you know Winterbauer got out of that legal mess by proving he used a photograph of himself as a reference for the artwork? That's surely one way to avoid a lawsuit. Paint yourself instead of Arnold. Nintendo Power called Power Blade Mega Action in the tradition of Mega Man 2 when they first saw it at the 1990 Consumer Electronics Show. And honestly, that comparison was both a blessing and a curse. Mean Machines gave it a solid 88%, while official Nintendo magazine matched that score exactly. Those were respectable numbers in an era when magazines weren't afraid to use their full rating scales. Here's a cool bit of trivia. Power Blade takes place in the year 2191 on a colony called New Earth. That's over 200 years in the future from when the game was made. Pretty ambitious world building for 1990.
Proceed right and climb upward to locate David Strader, obtaining the Sector 3 ID card. Navigate rightward and descend through multiple ladder sections.
Back in the day, Power Blade's kind of mission structure felt incredibly sophisticated. You weren't just running and gunning, you were conducting espionage operations in the year 2191. That sci-fi setting hit different in 91, when the future felt both exciting and terrifying. Every kid wondered what the world would look like 200 years from now.
Collect the Power Blade upgrade when available, then continue through the underground passages. The blue oceanic background indicates proper progression toward the security door. Boss battle, killer bees face multiple hives that open periodically to release swarms of attacking bees. Focus fire on open hives while avoiding bee swarms, as only exposed hives can sustain damage. Clear all hive structures to complete this encounter.
Here's one about the special power-up. When you collect the power suit, what are the energy blasts called that you can shoot through walls? Picture this, it's 1991, Mega Man 4 just came out, and everyone's trying to capture that choose your stage magic, but Power Blade wasn't content to just copy the Blue Bomber. It added this whole spy element where you had to track down secret agents in each level before you could even face the boss.
Sector 4 Arctic Installation. This complex sector features extensive vertical navigation through icy environments, ascend multiple ladder sections, and proceed right, then down past the first set of droids.
Speaking of innovation, Power Blade gave you a health meter when most games were still using the brutal 3 hits and you're dead system. It was ahead of its time, showing mercy in an era where games were designed to eat your quarters.
Collect the Power Blade armor. Navigate the endless ladder section into the Arctic region and proceed rightward to locate Linda Baker. The extensive return journey requires careful navigation through the multi-level facility, including passages with octopi and soldier enemies.
Here's some wild trivia. Mean Machines magazine gave Power Blade an 88 score, which was pretty solid for the time. but it's wild that some European magazines scored it as low as 49%. Talk about divided opinions. Here's one about the main character. What's the name of Power Blade's protagonist? Drop it in the comments if you know the space age hero. Kinuyo Yamashita composed the soundtrack, and gaming music fans should absolutely recognize that name. This was the same composer who gave us the haunting melodies of Castlevania, and you can hear the atmospheric sensibility in Power Blade's futuristic soundscape. Yamashita had this incredible ability to create music that felt both electronic and emotional, perfectly capturing the loneliness of being humanity's last hope on a distant colony world. Then there's the graphic artist, Mike Winterbauer, who created that iconic box art that got him in legal trouble. The man literally had to prove to Arnold Schwarzenegger's lawyer that he used his own photograph as a reference for Nova's design. Can you imagine getting that phone call? "Sir, the Terminator's legal team would like a word with you about your video game painting." Winterbauer's story perfectly captures the Wild West atmosphere of early 90s gaming, when developers were just pushing boundaries and sometimes accidentally stepping on Hollywood's toes. Fun fact, the game's composer was Kinuyo Yamashita, who also worked on the music for Castlevania. Talk about having serious chops in the NES soundtrack department. Here's a challenging one. What was the name of the graphic artist who created Power Blade's controversial box art? Let me know if you know the behind the scenes detail. Boss battle, green alien. This teleporting adversary appears and vanishes unpredictably while firing laser beams during materialization. Strike quickly when the alien appears, then retreat to avoid laser fire. Avoid standing centrally as the alien predominantly materializes in middle positions. Sector 5, Naval Shipyard. Progress rightward to ascend ladders to reach the pirate ship area. Two route options present themselves: the safer upper ship route or the more challenging lower tunnel filled with hostile droids. The upper route is obviously recommended, which requires proceeding rightward along the ship deck, collecting the Power Blade upgrades when accessible. Navigate through the complex multi-level structure to reach the underwater contact area, or the lower route. Descend immediately for a more direct but hazardous path through droid-filled tunnels. Both routes converge at the underwater section where Martin Douglas provides the Sector 5 ID card. Did you know that Power Blade's boomerang weapon can fire in all 8 directions? That was actually super rare for 2D platformers on the NES. Most games limited you to just left and right shooting. Can you name the colony planet where Power Blade takes place? This one should be pretty straightforward if you paid attention to the story. Here's something unique. Unlike most NES games where you just take damage and keep going, Power Blade has a life meter that drains with each hit. It's like they were ahead of their time with the health systems.
Navigate through the extensive facility, utilizing jumping fish obstacles and climbing sequences to reach the security door.
Can you name the year when Power Blade 2 was released? This sequel knowledge will separate the casual fans from the hardcore collectors. Here's a tough one to finish. What unique thing happens when you fall off the screen in Power Blade compared to the original Power Blazer and Power Blade 2? Can you remember how many sectors you have to complete in Power Blade? This one should be easy if you've played through the game.
Boss Battle, Blue Mega Robot. This swinging mechanical adversary moves from side to side across the combat area. Select one side and maintain position, striking when the robot approaches rather than attempting to chase it. Hand grenades provide excellent damage during vulnerable moments.
Fun fact, the game has 6 sectors. You can tackle in any order, just like in Mega Man. But here's the twist. You have to find a secret agent in each level before you can access the boss room. It's like being a spy and an action hero all at once.
Sector 6, Sewer System. This atmospheric sector features extensive underground navigation with challenging platforming elements. Descend into the sewer system and proceed rightward to locate the contact agent while avoiding dangerous gaps. Navigate leftward to find Daniel Leeds and receive the final ID card.
Let's see if you remember the review scores. Where did IGN rank Power Blade on their list of top 100 NES games list in 2009? Drop your guess in the comments.
Utilize green pillars for crossing dangerous areas, timing their movements carefully to avoid falling into hazardous zones. Collect power blade upgrades throughout the sector, including those requiring precise pillar timing to access elevated platforms, navigate through zombie-infested areas, and complex ladder systems to reach the security room.
Here's a gameplay mechanics question. How many directions can you fire your boomerang in Power Blade? Did you know about the power suit upgrade? When you grab this helmet looking item, Nova gets a full metal suit and can shoot energy blasts called power blades through walls. That's where this game gets its name.
Boss Battle, the Tall Robot. This towering mechanical guardian walks horizontally while destructible pillars appear and disappear throughout the arena. Ignore the pillar system entirely and focus attacks on the robot's head using hand grenades and boomerangs. Allow the robot to make contact rather than attempting complex pillar navigation. Then move to the opposite side after each pass. Sector 7, Control Center. The final infiltration begins with comprehensive power-up collection,
Here's a gameplay quirk. If you fall off the screen in Power Blade, you just straight up die. But in the original Power Blazer and the sequel Power Blade 2, you just fall back to the previous area. They made the Western version way more punishing.
Gather all available Power Blade armor, life recovery items, and hand grenades before proceeding. This sector provides maximum preparation for the climactic encounters ahead. Navigate through the ascending facility using precise ladder climbing and platform jumping. The complex vertical structure requires careful route planning to avoid backtracking while collecting essential upgrades.
Here's one for the eagle-eyed fans. What movie star did the main character's design closely resemble, causing some legal drama from the box artist? Fun fact, the game has both a continue system and a password feature. You could either restart at the beginning of your current level or use a code to jump to any checkpoint. Pretty generous for a 1991 NES game. Did you know that Taito added special agents to each stage specifically for the Western release? In the original Japanese version, you could just waltz right into the boss rooms without talking to anyone first.
Final boss battle, the Scientist. Phase 1. The Scientist hovers and moves unpredictably through the air. Conserve hand grenades for the second phase and rely primarily on boomerang attacks and life recovery items for health management. Phase 2. The Scientist returns, piloting a heavily armored spacecraft while acid rain falls continuously. Deploy all remaining hand grenades for maximum damage output. The acid rain creates environmental hazards requiring constant movement while maintaining offensive pressure. Victory restores peace to the cybernetic society, with Nova receiving the highest commendation for preventing total societal collapse. The password system. The game provides password continuation at specific progression points. 3D8J66BK, which is accessing Sector 4 with Sectors 1 to 3 completed, 9BG19FK5, accessing Sector 5 with Sectors 1 through 4 completed, 623GGBK, accessing Sector 6 with Sectors 1 through 5 completed, B67K2258, accessing the final Sector 7 with everything completed. I'm the Retro Kingpin, thanks for watching.